This episode of Arrow TV is brought to you by ECW Hunting Calls. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Arrow TV. On this week's episode, we're going to take you back to last year's season, 2014, as I take down a buck we call Kink. And after that, we're going to take you back to 2012 and one of my most memorable hunts. I put a 3-hour stalk on a buck we know was living out in this big ravine. We could never get close to him, and I get to within 7 yards of him for a shot. So let's get things started from last season. I'm in a ground blind in one of my favorite rut spots. Now I just happened to catch this buck's rack coming through the CRP in enough time to turn the camera on. I knew the trail he was taking would lead him right back around to me, so I was just going to be patient. Now this spot is so thick that the view you see on the camera is the only area I can shoot. So the footage is pretty straightforward on this hunt. Oh yes, that's a nice buck. I think he walked out of the view of this camera, so I hope I got him on the GoPro. It's hard right in here, it's just so tight. And without a cameraman trying to do it yourself, it's tough. I think I heard him crash right over there though. Yes, I'm excited. That's the buck I had in on me yesterday morning, about half a mile away or so. So, anyways, I'm going to give him about half an hour or so. I'm going to stick another arrow on in case one of these other ones come by here. We got some big bucks cruising through here, so. Yes, right on. good. Tons of blood. Let's go find him. There's blood again. Both sides of him. I see him right there. Let's go get him. Woohoo! I see him right there. Let's go get him. Woohoo! Man, I tell you what, that NAP kill zone max, that thing does a number on animals. I can't believe it. This is the 4th animal I've shot with them. Blood trail is just unreal. Look at that boy. Awesome. What an awesome morning. Perfect double lung shot. Look at all this blood. Oh, what a buck, man. Happy, great morning. I actually had this buck cruise by me about 60 yards from me yesterday morning. He wouldn't come any closer. That was about half to 3/4 of a mile away from here. I knew he was over here too, though, quite a bit. So, just a beautiful Illinois buck. Got a little character with his G2 there. Got it bent over when it was in velvet. Got some great G3s. Nice body. Just a great morning, great hunt. Another just great kill. Well, even though that wasn't one of the biggest bucks on our farm, I am a hunter at heart. And I am not letting a deer like that pass. Now we're going to get right to it. We're going to take you back to 2012 to one of my most memorable hunts I'll ever have. Our next hunt is probably one of my favorite deer hunts I've ever had. You can say it happened quick in a way, and in a way it took a long time. It was a really, really windy day. I went and checked some trail cameras on another farm. I knew I didn't have a tree for that wind, and it was like 35+ mph winds that day. So I ended up checking this ravine that goes about a half a mile out into a field, a deep ravine. Ended up finding a buck bedded in it. We knew he'd been bedded in there several other times. Just hard to get to him and catch him. The wind was right that day. I found where he was bedded, parked a good distance away, come in through some waterways a couple 100 yards or more away from him. Took me probably a good 45 minutes to get in on him, to close the distance. I sat and watched him at 27 yards for about 3 hours. He stood up once during it, basically just repositioned himself, never offered me a shot. He bedded back down. At that point I knew which way he was facing, which way he was looking the whole time. And after about another hour and a half of it, I couldn't take no more, so I decided to get up on the bank from him and put a stalk on him. So that's definitely one of my most memorable hunts. The first mature deer like that I've stalked up on and shot. So let's go take a look at that. Well, it's the morning of November 2nd, and we're sitting on the farm that we get all the pics of the buck we call Hoop, the buck we call Sticks, and the buck we call the Wide 8 on. Now, first thing that morning, I had this doe and fawn come right down the field to me. And as slow as my season's gone thus far, as many shot opportunities as she's offering me, I really thought about shooting her. But it is November 2nd, and I was just hoping that one of those bucks would be behind her. Now they just fed around me for several minutes before making their way up the field edge. But the way my year was going, there was no buck behind them. Now we're going to jump ahead 10 days till November 12th. My vacation was over, and it's just another day off. I'm sitting at the farm we call the County Line Farm. This is a new farm I just picked up this year, and is the farm we get all the pictures of the County Line 10 on. Now, first thing that morning, I have several does come out in this field next to me, heading over to bed. But again, the way my season was going, there wasn't a buck around any of these does. Now, I knew the wind was supposed to change directions and pick up to 35 plus mile an hour later that morning. So when the wind changed directions and started picking up, we got down and we're gonna move to another farm. Unfortunately, we really didn't have a stand for that wind, and especially that high a mile per hour. So I went over, checked some trail cameras on another farm, and on the back corner of the property is the first camera I checked, and I come up with these pictures. Now this is a buck we haven't seen yet and have no pictures of this deer, but I've got two of him from the 2 days prior to this now. Now after checking the two trail cameras on this property, I decided to drive this ravine that goes out into this field. A lot of times when it's really windy, you'll catch one bedded in it. It goes about a half mile or so out into this field, and it's pretty deep in spots. So I drove along it. I didn't see anything to it till I got to the very end, and lo and behold, there he was laying right there. I knew if I kept driving that he wouldn't get up. So I just kept going, circled around a big hilltop, parked on the back side of it to where I knew I could get down through a waterway and try to put a stalk on him. Now since I was stalking this deer and I didn't have a cameraman with me that day, all I had to go with was the GoPro on my bow. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Now before I started my stalk, I took my regular camera and set it up on the tripod on this hilltop to try to catch some of the action. But it was so windy that day that about a half an hour into it, the wind had blew the camera over. Now I knew where the deer was. He was bedded right in here. And I knew if I could get to this tree here, I'd be in shooting range of him.
I'm laying here on the ground. I stalked up on this big buck in this ravine. I've been sitting here for about an hour, and he just stood up once. So I'm just going to try to wait him out, see what happens.
Well, after he stood up, repositioned himself, and laid back down, I watched him for another hour and finally decided it's time to make a move. So I got up on the ridge above him. I only had to go around about 30 yards. I knew exactly the way he was facing, the direction he kept looking, and exactly where I needed to be above him. The only thing I didn't know was if there was going to be anything in the way of a shot once I got there. Once I got up close to the edge, I peeked up and over. There was nothing in the way of making the shot, and I only needed to take a couple more steps. I started shooting a bow at the age of 5. Shot my first deer when I was 11. I'm not a professional shooter. I'm a hunter. And after 40 years of shooting, I know what it takes to get the job done. A smooth draw, a deep valley with a solid as steel back wall, dead in the hand shot, and most of all, accurate. While some bows may have some of these features, only one has them all. Obsession bows. Change or get left behind.
Yes! Oh my God, I love it! This is why I do this stuff, man. Oh my God, what is that? I'm gonna range it. Seven yards. Look at this blood. Right where he laid. Yeah. Here's my arrow. Oh, you can't believe how happy I am. Let's go down here and look at him.
Well, after a little stalk, I finally got him. I sat and watched him for 3 hours. I was only about 29 yards from him, just watching him bedded. He got up once and moved. I could not get a shot at him then. He just kind of basically just got up and turned around and laid back down. So I got up on the ridge from him finally. I could actually see, I knew which way he was laying, which way he kept looking. And so I got up on the ridge from him. It's extremely windy today. And I got up 7 yards from him. Drilled him perfect double lung right into the other shoulder. He went about 20 yards, 30 yards and fell over. And that rage just did a number on him. Put a huge hole in him. I'm happy. It's been a rough season. Now I gotta figure out if I can get him out of here by myself. He fell down into this other ravine. But I guess if I can, I'll call for some help. Now we knew that deer was living out there and we just couldn't get anywhere near him. It's all open around it. Just so happened that day with the wind, I caught him in there. He didn't move, so I was able to get a stalk on him. We'd been trying to figure him out because we don't know which way he left that ravine and went to any other parts of the farm. I never got a trail camera picture of him. We'd only seen him in the distance. And that morning when I found him bedded in the ravine, I had drove around the property to check trail cameras, and I did get my very first 2 of him from a few days before that. Now when I first shot him, I wasn't sure if it was a different buck that we called the straight 10. It just so happened 2 days later, one of my best friends who owns the property to the north of my farm, he shot the straight 10. All in all, that was one of the best hunts I've ever been on. It's gonna be one of my most memorable hunts ever. To get within 7 yards of that deer, and that was pretty much all about straight down. Just he was backed up to that wall in that ravine, and I couldn't have asked for a better shot. Well, that's all we got for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and stick with us next week. Next week's all about using a decoy during the rut. We're going to take you back to the very first buck I ever killed on camera in 2009 over a decoy. And then we're going to take you back to last season in Illinois with Brian O'Neill as he takes a decoy out for the very first time. And before it's even 10 minutes into light, he's already had it exploded twice by a buck and has a buck on the ground. You don't want to miss it. Arrow TV would like to thank the following people for their support: Scent Blocker, Obsession Bows, ECW Hunting Calls, Gold Tip Arrows, Bee Stinger Stabilizers, Antler King, Primo, Stormy Hardwoods, Whitetail Obsession Scents, and especially you, the viewers. Thanks for watching.